The manufacturing consent, correct, is the first at 1988. The title is not original. It's co-authored work with Edward Herman, passed away recently, old friend and co-author. And in fact, the basic framework, especially the first part, is essentially his, which is why I insisted over his objection that his name come first instead of our usual practice of alphabetic ordering. The phrase is not ours. We took it from Walter Lippmann, the leading public intellectual of the American public intellectual of the 20th century. Wilson, Roosevelt, Kennedy, liberal, famous commentator on world affairs, on public opinion, public attitudes. The phrase comes from his writings shortly after the First World War. He was a member of Woodrow Wilson's propaganda agency called, naturally, the Committee on Public Information, which meant disinformation. And Lippmann was on it along with Edward Bernays, who went on to found be one of the founders of the modern public relations industry. The phrase Bernays used was engineering consent, but the same idea. Both Lippmann and Bernays were very impressed with the fact that the enormous propaganda program of the Wilson administration, of which this commission was a part, was able to shift a pacifist population to raving anti-German warmongers within a very short period. Wilson had been elected in 1916 on a pacifist program, peace without victory, but he wanted to get into the war, so had to shift public opinion. It was very successful. Lippmann and Bernays were both very impressed by it. They both wrote that they had learned how malleable public opinion is and how it can be shaped by well-designed propaganda. As I said, Bernays went on to become the guru of the public relations industry, which is basically a propaganda industry. In fact, his main book on the topic is called simply Propaganda. It's Lippmann regarded what he called manufacture of consent as a new art in the practice of democracy. Democracy for both Lippmann and Bernays and the liberal intellectuals generally means a system whereby elite elements who call themselves the responsible men are able to set policy free, quoting Lippmann, free from the roar and trampling of the bewildered herd. The bewildered herd is the general population. They're, as they put it, stupid and ignorant and can't understand what's best for them. So we have to find ways to marginalize them and atomize them and remove them from any influence on policy. So we smart guys can run things by ourselves. It's a very Leninist picture. In fact, I've sometimes compared Lenin's commentaries on vanguardism and its need with that of liberal intellectuals. It's pretty similar in many ways, same concept. So that's manufacture of consent. The rest of the book discusses this. It discusses it's concerned primarily with the media. Myself have written other books which are concerned primarily with the general intellectual community. In fact, one of them came out right after this called Necessary Illusions, phrase borrowed from Reinhold Niebuhr, the revered theologian of the establishment, as he's called, considered a great moral leader. His picture was, he was the one who used the phrase I quoted before, that people are too stupid and ignorant to, in his words, to become involved in public affairs. So we have to feed them necessary illusions, emotionally potent simplifications to keep them busy and on course while we run things. But these two books, at least in my mind, were kind of paired. One about the media, one about the intellectual community, very similar in many ways. For the media, there are institutional factors that affect the shaping and choice of the filtering of how information reaches the public. I mean, they are, Ed Herman was a specialist, he was an economist at the Wharton School, specialist on finance. His main book is called Corporate Power and Corporate Control. And he was interested particularly in the role of the corporate structure. So the media are, in fact, major corporations selling a product to other corporations. Their market is advertisers, other big businesses. The product they sell is you and me, readers. They try to sell readers to corporations. They're closely linked to government. You put all these factors together, you get a reasonable prediction of what the media output is likely to be. It's likely to be influenced by the buyers, the sellers, and the connections with the other systems of power. The rest of the book is just detailed analysis of media product, which illustrates these phenomena. And what we tried to pick was the hardest cases where the media made strong claims, not just marginal ones. That's manufacturing consent.